Hey everybody, thank you for joining another webinar with Leap. We do a lot of these, but we do them all for a good reason. Thank you guys for joining today. What we will do is we're going to give everybody a chance to sign in, get situated. We'll get you guys comfortable with the GoToWebinar platform. That way you guys can drop your questions in, any other comments, etc. So if you're looking at the actual screen itself for GoToWebinar, you should not only be able to see the PowerPoint that we're going to be running through today, the other bit that you're going to be able to see is on there, you see a section that says questions, polls, chat, all that other fun stuff. So we're going to be utilizing that questions section. So if everybody gets comfortable and situated, do me a favor and just make sure that you're using it correctly, because everybody's in listen mode right now, but we want to make sure that all questions get answered. So if there's anything you guys need addressed on this webinar, if there's something really pressing that you wanted to cover and that's why you're attending today, feel free to drop that into this question section. Type in what you're looking to do. We'll make sure that at the end of this, when we go to the Q&A portion, we address every single one of those. We will take as long as it needs to get everybody situated and all the information answered. So do us a quick favor. It's always just fun to see where everybody's dialing in from. In that question section, feel free to drop in where you're attending from. Just say, hey, I'm dialing in from DC, I'm dialing in from Baltimore, I'm dialing in from LA or Seattle or wherever it might be. Drop that in that question section so that we know that people actually know how to use this. Otherwise, yeah, Philly, I love it. Thanks, Rich. And then we will get these guys. I love it. In New Jersey in the house. Manassas, VA. So you guys are not too far from us. We're in Columbia, Maryland. So very cool. Thank you guys for dropping that stuff in there. We're also going to be adding some polls as we go along. We'll give everybody about maybe 2 more minutes to join, and then we'll kick this thing off. Awesome. Colorado Springs. Love it. Got a lot of good friends that have beautiful views of Pikes Peak, so love Colorado. Perfect. So I'm going to mute myself for about 1 minute, and then we're going to get this thing started promptly at 3 after. All righty. Give everybody just a couple others. Cool. Caleb, thank you for joining us. Great to have you, man. All righty. So we're going to kick this thing off today. So what we're going to do, you guys, today is we're going to be treating this a little bit more of a partnership announcement. What we love to do here, especially within within Leap, is we absolutely love working with various partners. One of the things that we have to understand is that huge value to our customers is being able to functionally integrate and work with a lot of the other programs and companies that they interact with and use on a day-to-day basis. So Destination Motivation, to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, is someone that we've been interacting with quite a bit, over the years. We've done a lot of work at trade shows, etc., different speaking engagements, etc. And Destination Motivation was always there. We had a lot of good times with them. We saw a lot of the really interesting things. We also saw a lot of our companies happen to use them. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a formal partnership so that we can not only share the benefits of both Leap and Destination Motivation, but figure out the best practices and how the two can work together. So this we're going to be treating as a partnership announcement, showing why we partnered, give you a little bit of an overview of both sides. More importantly, you can see here as we scroll through, this is the agenda that we're going to cover today. It's really first and foremost, what's the reason why we partner? I went over some of this stuff, but there's a couple other pieces we'll take a look at that are a little bit more practical for you guys as business owners. The other bit is we're going to dive into a little bit of who Destination Motivation is. On top, after that, we'll be going into who Leap is. Knowing the two of those can start to give you that picture of how the two will mesh together and ways in which you can organize your business in a really functional and secure way. So we'll take a look at all of that, and then at the end of it, we'll really dive into the Q&A. The subsequent webinars that we're going to be doing with Destination Motivation are going to also start including a lot more of the power users of both tools. So we'll understand how companies are using Leap as well as Destination Motivation so that you can start fueling off of those best practices and even adopt a bit of those for your own organization. So without further ado, I want to introduce going back to this first slide, we have Brittany Gregory with us, who's the VP of Marketing for Destination Motivation. She also does a lot of really cool consulting work in the industry. She knows everybody. Like, I kid you not, when we go to shows, everybody comes and gives her a hug. I get 0 high fives. She's way cooler than me. So Brittany, feel free to introduce yourself to the crowd. Excited to have you on here today.
Hey, how are you guys? Sorry, I was muted.
Good, we can hear you now. You're good.
Hi, I'm Brittany Gregory. I'm the VP of Marketing for Destination Motivation. I've been in the home improvement field for about 10 years. I've worked with some of the industry's leaders, helped grow a couple of large home improvement companies, and I've been with Destination Motivation for about 2 years now. The reason I came on board with them was I had used it many times prior. I knew how it worked, and I knew that we would be able to expand our reach pretty quickly by being able to teach other companies how to use this appropriately in the home.
Awesome. And you guys, she's being humble when she says she's worked with some of the industry's biggest and best. She used to be head of marketing for companies like Window Nation, which, if you're familiar in the space, they're juggernauts. So again, really lucky for us to have her on the call today. There's a lot of really cool things that you can learn from her. So 100%, if you haven't had a chance to look at either Leap or Destination Motivation, again, we'll give you the ways in which you can reach out directly to her, pick her brain, etc. So without further ado, what I want to do before we jump into anything is I want to make sure that we drop in one of our polls. We'd love to just know where you guys are at, whether you're using Leap, whether you're using Destination Motivation. It just gives us a really clear understanding of how we can better cater this webinar for the folks that are attending. So we're going to go ahead and drop a poll in here. You'll see it on your screen. It's basically going to ask you to choose one of these 4 options. So first, it's whether you use Leap only, whether you use Destination Motivation only, or whether you use both tools, or the other percent too, if you're completely lost and don't know how you ended up on this webinar. We'll reach out to you, call the authorities, and help you find your way home. So by all means, go ahead, fill that out real quick. We really appreciate it. It's going to give us a really good understanding of how we can, again, shape the message to this to make sure you get the most out of it. So we'll leave it open for a couple more seconds. We got 80%. I guarantee that 20% can vote. Come on. 20% more. Click on it. That's all we need. This is my shameless plug. I'm going to do this for about 5 seconds, and then we're going to close the polls. Yeah, 87. Here we go. Perfect. So without further ado, we're going to close those polls. We're good to go. We got a lot of good data. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate those who loved a little bit of humor in there and selected the "Who are you people? I'm lost." So thank you. Keeps this interesting. So as we go along, I'm going to say this one last time. Feel free in that question section. You dropped in those questions. By all means, make sure that you drop that stuff in there as well. So moving along, we want to talk a little bit about why we partnered with Destination Motivation. All right. A lot of this is what we're going to cover is going to go back to what I was saying originally. Is the premise behind Leap is you're giving your salespeople the tools that they need to close the leads that you generate while they're pitching in the home. If you're not giving them every bit of material or every bit of sales tool that they can use, unfortunately, you're putting them behind the 8 ball. It's making their lives that much more difficult. The best of the best companies that are out there right now are the ones that provide ways in which you can overcome any objection, you can provide the maximum value to a homeowner, and you can just boost on that trust and emotion that's required to close a deal. So the first thing that we want to look at, and this is one of my absolute favorite bits of data that we found, actually found this with another one of our partners, MarketSharp. We were researching a bunch of really interesting data sets. And one of the things that we found was that lead conversion is not simply, hey, I've got amazing people, we've got a cool training process, and we're just going to generate a ton of leads and then everything is going to get closed because I've got the best sales team in the world. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. When you look at it, lead conversion is really going to be determined by the lead quality up to about 57%. So you're talking literally not I mean almost 2/3, but really it's about half of the deals that you bring in are going to be determined by the quality of the lead that you generate from the get-go. But the reality is you can generate the most amazing leads in the world, and if you're not giving your sales teams the tools that they need to be successful, guess what? Take every one of those leads that you generated, all the money that you spent on that, light it on fire and burn it, because that's about what that's basically the same thing as what's being done. Is you're not converting to the extent that you should. My background professionally is I come from the private equity world. So I would come into organizations, analyze their operations, and then at that point, wring every ounce of efficiency out of them that I possibly could by leveraging things like technology, training, education, onboarding, personnel, recruiting, you name it. As a consultant from the private equity groups, it was my job to make that thing a well-oiled machine. You have to make sure that you recognize the impact of upstream and downstream. You can make the biggest funnel in the world, but if you're not converting it, guess what? You're literally just burning dollars and cents. So as we go through, we also have to understand that, this industry is changing. When you look at the folks that are buying homes, one of the cool stats that's actually not on the slide, but the average age of home in the United States was built somewhere in the 70s. So when you look at homes, especially in urban environments, when you're near a major city, I mean, this is Captain Obvious 101, but a lot of the cost of ownership for these homes are just going through the roof. So when you look at who's buying these days, millennials are becoming more and more the prevalent buyer. Home improvement projects obviously are still being paid for by those who can afford them, but the reality is a lot of these individuals that are coming in and purchasing homes are younger and younger and younger. When a lot of millennials came out of college originally, it was that housing crisis. They lived in cities, they rented, they saved their money for a really long time, but they also created themselves a certain lifestyle that they're accustomed to. So when they come out and purchase homes, you see this massive flight out of urban centers because that's the only way in which they can afford homes. Well, if the average home age is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of like 70s or older, the thing you're going to run into is they're going to be buying time capsules. They're going to be buying these amazing shag carpet, wallpaper, frankly, these butt ugly interiors that they then want to create their own environment. They find good bones and they level up. So Brittany actually had a really amazing statistic that she dropped on me while we were going over this, prior to broadcasting today. But it blew my mind, talking a little bit about the relationship between the millennial home buyer and the vacation packages offered by Destination Motivation. So Brittany, I'm going to shut up for a second, turn it over to you, because I'd love if you could drop that on our audience today.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So just a little bit of background for those that don't know what Destination Motivation is we are an in-home closing tool that allows you to offer at the time of purchase in the home either a 7-day resort stay or a 3 to 7 day luxury cruise for doing business with you. And we are seeing more and more millennials lean towards the cruising aspect. And we received a statistic that 90% of millennials prefer a cruise over a land-based vacation, which is massive. But whenever I really started thinking about it, more and more millennials are valuing experiences. So taking a cruise, they're able to hit 3, 4, 5 ports depending on how long they're going and which cruise they're going on. So they're able to have more of that experience, which again, more of the millennials are wanting to do. So, they're wanting to buy their home, they're wanting to upgrade, but they're also wanting to make sure that they still have the time and the money to travel. And cruise is a great way for them to get the most bang for their buck, so to speak.
Awesome. So again, you guys look at the statistics of who's buying the home, who's spending a lot of the money on this. And frankly, one of the things that we see, irrespective of whether we're doing a webinar on this, on secure payment capture, contracts, you name it, there's a repeated theme, and that has to do with the fact that people people these days buying homes are becoming younger and younger. So you have to start building toward and adhering toward those trends. So understanding that they're tech savvy, that they want fast and convenient transactions, and really, if you're not providing true on-demand service, it's the same thing as if you were to try to load a web page on your phone and it took 5 seconds. I personally lose my mind when that happens. If it's not instantaneous, that's just the way it is. I tend to judge the quality of that interaction based on the speed at which I go in. So what we want to do too is I'm going to shut up right now, and I want Brittany to go into a lot more detail on who Destination Motivation is. We've got a lot of users on this call today that use Leap, but they don't use Destination Motivation. So first things first, Leap always puts our partners first. That's just how we see it. If they're successful, we're successful because we're providing value to any one of our users. So more importantly, what I want to do is I want to shut up right now, pass it over to Brittany. She's going to walk you through the details of what it is, how they operate, benefits to your organizations. We'll touch on a little bit in terms of like what's offered, some very high level, like 30,000 foot view pricing. More importantly, what we want to do today is give you guys enough data to dive in a lot deeper with us in a one-on-one format. So at the end of this, obviously, we're going to be reaching out to you guys, figuring out exactly how we can help and customize and tailor our businesses to your company, as well too. We're going to be going in after this on the details of Leap, et cetera. So Brittany, I'll pass it over to you. I'll drive the PowerPoint. You tell me when you want to swap slides.
Okay. I wish I remembered which ones were next, but yep, you can just leave it. Perfect. So a little bit of an overview about who we are for those of you that don't know. Again, we are we're a marketing firm. We specialize in the home improvement industry, but our number one product is the vacation vouchers. So this is either a land-based vacation or a cruise-based vacation. With the cruises, it is our most popular, again, because Americans have very limited time that they can travel. They don't get long spaces of holiday like people over in Europe do. So we really want, as Americans, we want to capitalize on our vacation time as much as possible, which is why cruising is so popular with Americans. You can see lots of destinations really quick. We work with the top 4 cruise lines, so it's Carnival, Caribbean, Norwegian, and Celebrity. And then as far as our resorts, there's 4,500 resorts in 103 countries around the world. You would be providing a voucher to your homeowner for doing business with you guys. So we have, we work with some of the top home improvement companies in the U.S. We work with Window Nation, New South Windows, a handful of HVAC companies. We have clients all over the US and even a few in Canada that are able to leverage these on a one-call close in the home. On average, we see an 8 to 12% increase in closing, which is a huge, staggering number. And there are times that we have companies that we have to make sure that they're able to be able to handle that type of increase because it can really boost your business. But But, we also have clients that use this on a referral basis, that use it for internal contests, that use it for, internal contests, even for their sales team to be able to hit a certain KPI and to be able to vacation with their family. So there's so many different ways that this can be used, not only in the home, but also internally for you guys. James, hit the next slide for me. There we go. So I'm sure everyone here has seen every single one of these questions. How do we differentiate ourselves from the competition? How do we create urgency for them to buy from us over someone else? How do we build value in the home? Credibility, overcome objections, etc. I am almost positive that every single person here listening has toyed around in their head with, will $500 off get the phone to ring? Will giving $1,000 off at a home show make someone stick to their next day appointment? All of those things are things that can work, but there's also perceived value whenever it comes to being able to offer a destination motivation voucher at a home show, or at the time of a sale, or at your kiosk at a mall, because it has a very high perceived value. Whenever you ask a room full of people, what do you believe a luxury vacation for two would be? You're going to hear everything from $2,000 to $10,000, because everyone has a different perceived value of what a vacation is. And a lot of times we'll hear in the home, well, we need to have our roof done, or we need to have our windows replaced, or our bathtub is moldy and we need to replace it, but we've been saving for this vacation. We're going to have to take money out of our savings in order to do this project. By being able to offer the Destination Motivation Vacation Voucher, you're going to have a win-win situation on your hand. They're going to be able to get the project of their dreams and go on that vacation of their dreams. And the cost to your homeowner is minimum. It's around 60% off of what they would normally spend on a vacation themselves. So they're paying a small processing fee and port fees and taxes. So you're basically covering the room and board for them. They need to get there, but their actual vacation is dramatically discounted. And these aren't bottom of the barrel rooms. They're rooms with a view, with a window. They can upgrade. They can take their children with them. So the vacation voucher itself is for two adults. So it's a.
So you're not putting them in the boiler room? That's awesome.
No, yeah, no broiler rooms, no broiler rooms. That's, I think, where all the employees are. So definitely not there. So I mean, that's one of the first things we get is, okay, what's the jump through? There is no jump through. It's taxes and port fees. We're sending a ton of people on vacation. And, a lot of people ask, how are you guys able to do this? So I do want to speak to that. So I took a short stint from home improvement for 3 years and worked with the Baltimore Orioles. So it's baseball season, so I feel like I can use this analogy. If a team was coming to the Orioles that didn't have a large following, and tickets were normally $49 for the nosebleed, if me and my team went to the ownership and said, you know what, we need to fill the seats, we're going to drop the prices from $49 to $9. We're going to do a blowout sell. $9 for tickets, because once this game passes, we cannot make any more money off of this game, right? So what happens when someone buys a cheap ticket and they enter into a ballpark? They feel like they just won the lottery, right? They're going to a game for pennies on the dollar. So they spend more money in the MLB shop. They spend more money on beer, on hot dogs, etc. To me, it's the same thing with the cruise ship. We're sending people to the cruise ship, and they're spending, your homeowners will, either buy alcohol, they'll shop, or they'll do things, they'll play at the casino. And that's really where the cruise ship makes their money. Because no matter whether that ship is at 20% capacity or 100% capacity, they still have the same amount of employees that they're paying, same amount of food on board. Everything's the same. Where they make the bulk of their money isn't necessarily on the room and board. It's on the things on the ship, the family pictures, things of that nature. So again, it's, being able to pass that value of the room and board to your homeowners at a very, very low rate. And that's what we've been able to negotiate with the cruise lines with these vouchers. So I hope that helps some people to understand like how we're able to do this. We are helping them fill the ships because of repeat business. So, when someone buys something on Groupon or they get that discounted ticket and they have that amazing experience, they're going to go back. And that's what's happening with the cruise lines. We're able to provide that experience very nominally. And then homeowners are saying, you know what, that Royal Caribbean cruise was really stellar. We're going to tell our friends about it and we're going to go again. And they're not going to blink an eye if they do pay full price online. Does that make sense?
It's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, so let's click through this slide here. So with our customers' experience, of course, increase leads. So how would you increase leads with a program like this? There's a multitude of ways. You can use it in your home shows. You can use it on your rehash in your call center. You can use it as a sweepstakes online. As far as, increased closing ratios. Window Nation did a private study of their customers, and they had an increased closing rate of 8 to 12% when using the vacation voucher in their closing. That's a huge spike in sales, being able to raise from already a very high closing percentage rate up another 8 to 12%. Increased sales. So this is my favorite one. In the home improvement industry, we like to use dollars off or free installation. And generally, I see that those dollar amounts or percentages off can be between 12 and 18%, depending on what product and how much markup you have. But being able to offer a vacation voucher with such a high perceived value that has such a low cost to the company, you're going to have more profit in that job. So if you're able to offer a client $1,000 cash off versus a vacation voucher with a perceived value of, let's say, $4,000, that's only costing you under $200 versus $1,000 off. Your homeowner is going to take that vacation because that's an experience. That's something that they're going to do anyway. Americans vacation, whether we can afford it, whether we have to charge it, we're doing it, and we're doing it at higher numbers each year. If they were to choose the vacation voucher over that $1,000 off, you just have $800 more profit in that job. That's my absolutely favorite way for companies to increase their sales, is using it instead of a higher discount. So with decreased cancellations, this is another fun one that I like. We see a large decrease in cancellations because you can only get the vacation voucher once your job is fully financed and installed. So once the homeowners have their mind set on getting the project done and their vacation, your rescission period is not even existent in their mind. So that's another great one. So increased profits, we've touched on that, but increased referrals. So think about it. Anytime someone comes back from vacation, what are they doing? They're pulling up their phone and they're showing pictures. Oh my gosh, I went here, I saw this, I ate this, I drank this, whatever it might be. They're excited about it. They're refreshed. They just came back from an amazing experience. And what's going to happen? Oh yeah, I went on this ridiculously cheap because I had my roof replaced by X company, or because I had my windows replaced by New South Windows and they sent me on a cruise. How cool is that? The word starts getting out that way. But the second way is we actually call behind all of your customers and make sure that they had an amazing experience, get a review, grab some pictures from them, and send it to you guys. And then that way you can use it on your social media. You can use it internally You can also use it on, your LinkedIn, your website, however you want to use it as a testimonial for your company. And then, of course, contests and social media. This is another fun one for me. I like making up these contests, but you can absolutely use them as, a click and share. You can, if you have a monthly subscription base, you can, use it that way. There's just a 100 different ways that you can make contests and social media, both internally for your team, but also externally for either past customers or customers that you would like to attract to your company. So there's just a plethora of different ways that you can use this, and it's a very inexpensive tool with a very big perceived value. So I guess a little bit more about us. I know that we've kind of, touched on this, but one thing I haven't touched on is that the vacation voucher is 100% transferable. So if you're in the home and it is someone elderly and they're like, oh, that sounds wonderful, but I just don't travel anymore. Well, it is transferable. So if they have a niece that's graduating from high school or a granddaughter who's getting married, they can literally just hand it over to them and gift this vacation. We've, gotten feedback from some clients that have, donated it to a school charity auction, and they've raised money for their school by being able to give this up. So there's a bunch of different ways that can definitely be transferred over to someone. Again, with it having a high perceived value, and vacations are emotional. They're, an emotional experience and buy. So when people think about spending time with their loved ones, that's something that they don't want to give up, and it brings happy memories. So that's definitely something for you guys to keep in the back of your mind when thinking about using something like the vacation to be able to close those deals. Generally, there is a limited supply, so a company will buy a set number of them and give their sales team X amount of days, or generally it's a month to get through them. So having that urgency with your sales team really, really works in the home. So, and it also makes your salesmen even more competitive than they already are. And then, one of my favorite things to do in the world, and also our CEO Caleb's, if you follow our Instagram, we're always somewhere, but everyone loves to vacation and everyone loves talking about a vacation. Let's face it, home improvement's not sexy. Nobody wants to spend money on it, but we all have to. But everyone loves talking about taking a vacation. So to me, it's kind of, it's the best of both worlds. You can go to the next slide, James. Yeah. So these are just some fun statistics that we've got, from the International Cruise and Resort Association. So 68% of consumers plan to take a cruise in the next 3 years. 69% of consumers would value the cruise vacation over a land-based vacation. That's huge. Cruising has definitely changed over the last 10 years. I remember when I, told some friends of mine that I was going on a cruise, and they looked at me like I was crazy because they thought it was only for, older people at the time. But the cruise ships are so modern. They're beautiful. The entertainment and the food has just gone to the next level in the past 7 years, and each year it gets more and more. So I would expect to see that number creep up quite a bit more, again, because you're able to get so much more out of a cruise than a land-based vacation. But one of my favorite statistics is this next one. The average cruise passenger is 49, married, college educated, with a full-time income of $114,000, which is the ideal buyer for home improvement projects. 84% of cruise passengers are married, but the big one for me is the one that we talked about earlier. 94% of millennials say they are highly likely to book a vacation or to book a cruise for the next vacation. And, as James spoke about earlier, more and more millennials are becoming homeowners, and they're becoming homeowners at a younger age. So this applies to both your millennials, all the way up to, your Gen X, and beyond, because everyone loves to vacation.
Totally true. That's it. And you guys, one of the neatest things too is not only does it assess the actual existing population of your consumers, it's also prepping you for success for the next generation. When you look at, again, the trends and where everything's swinging with millennials, you see a lot of that trajectory being pointed toward the younger crowds. This obviously puts you at the forefront to address those. So thank you so much for going through that stuff. If you guys have questions, again, feel free to drop those in the question section. We're going to be addressing those pretty shortly. So what I also wanted to do moving to the next slides is I want to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of who Leap is. Granted, there's a lot of folks on this call who already use Leap. That's all good. You guys already know this, so feel free to grab a glass of water. But the reality of this is what is Leap and how does it fit in my business? And we want to go back to one of the previous things that I alluded to, which was a lot of companies, again, spend a tremendous amount of money generating leads. One of the statistics that we dove into, especially with some of our bigger companies, is how much do you actually spend? So if that spend is falling into somewhere in that like 10 to 15% of total revenue being spent on that lead generation, those lead generation efforts, the thing you have to understand is if you're not balancing that out with the tools that you need to succeed when selling in the field, guess what? You're putting yourself at a disadvantage and really crushing not only your cost per conversion, but also just your overall conversion rates, period. And I put this slide in there too, because again, this thing speaks to me more than anything else throughout any of the presentations that we've done thus far this year, is when you look, 15% of your quality is determined by the lead. The rest of it is what happens in the home, what that tells us is that, again, building off of that concept of why people buy vacations, being an emotional sale, the same thing applies when it comes to your home improvement projects. It's I'm going to purchase what I have, or I'm going to purchase a project that possibly is a necessity and I feel I can't live without, which again, you go back to that whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like, yeah, you need food, shelter, and security. Well, guess what? Home improvement oftentimes falls into that security piece. The other side of it is you also have to ask yourself, how many people really love looking at something that bothers them? We all have our little tics and things that irk us. My wife and I have in our bathroom have a pedestal sink. Again, our home was an older home. We're in the process of remodeling it, but at the same time, you look at it, drives me mental every single day because there's no storage in the bathroom. Those little things are emotional purchases and why people will sign up to get a free estimate, why they'll stop and talk with you at a home show, et cetera, et cetera. So those little pieces are exceedingly important to recognize that if you're not capitalizing on this in the home, you're putting yourself at a massive disadvantage. So let's talk a little bit about how Leap falls into this. So Leap is that tool that's designed to control the entire in-home sales process. So, that goes from creating an estimate, from walking through your digital resources to say, hey, let's look through this brochure and see which door you want to go with or what shingle color is going to look best on your house. It's also ways to lay off proposals, estimates, contracts, even go as far as applying for financing on site, capturing payments, the whole 9 yards. So Leap is truly designed to own that entire interaction and build off of what we were talking about earlier, of making it everything that it possibly can be so that you have the highest propensity to close, et cetera. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm also going to touch on one last thing. The other thing to note is a lot of the companies, and I can see who's attended this, and I can say this safely knowing a couple of your businesses, for those of you who have multiple sales reps, the one thing to consider is we have to ask ourselves the question, are all reps created equal, and can they close without any additional add-ons or tools or, basically ammunition in their gun, so to speak? And the answer is no. It's, in fact, I would even go as far as, maybe not putting it in writing, but I would say that's a hell no. And what we need to recognize is that sometimes these vouchers or these tools are going to be used to close the deals, but other times they're not. They can be kept in the back pocket. You don't have to tap into your margins, etc. Again, when looking at this, you have to make sure that you're giving every single one of your reps the tools they need to be successful. Again, some are superstars and don't need anything. They're always going to sell that job at the highest possible dollar amount. But the other piece of this is we also have to go back in and recognize that there are some weak reps that don't have that ability to close consistently. So giving them the tools, say your new reps in the field, this could be that one little itty bitty piece that's needed to get that deal over the line. So moving along, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over real quick. I want to show you just a really quick walkthrough of what Leap can do. I'll show you a couple different pieces. This is going to be call it the ludicrous speed demo, if you will, going back to Spaceballs terms, if you're a fan of Mel Brooks movies like I am. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you at a very high level what this, what we can do and how this sets your sales reps up for success. So bear with me while I switch screens real fast. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. All right, perfect. So what you're looking at is I actually have my iPad up right now, and we're actually taking a look at Leap specifically. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do. On the left-hand side, you see there's estimates, contracts, proposals. You even see down here things like resources. So when I'm a rep in the field, the easiest thing for me to do is pull up, and the first thing I'm going to do in all honesty is I'm going to pull up my customer. We integrate with a number of different CRMs. So again, if you don't integrate, it's just a pain in the butt for you as a business owner. You're not able to pull things in seamlessly. Same thing, whatever your reps do in the field doesn't pass back to your CRMs effectively. We're talking about that really healthy pairing between marketing and sales. Well, guess what? If it doesn't integrate, you're running yourself at a massive disadvantage. Guess what? We integrate with a number of different individuals. We have a fully open API, so we can integrate with any homegrown systems as well. So when we look at this, typically what reps are going to do is they're going to go into the field. In this case, I can go and build a roof. I'll show you we even have integrations with things like Eagle View and Hover. So if I hit search, it's super easy for me to pick one of those Eagle View reports that I purchased, click on it, and I can even have it go as far as auto-populate all my results. Doesn't matter whether you're selling a roof, a deck, windows, you name it. I can also really easily program in packages. So I can say, well, hey, Mr. Homeowner, not only are you going to get your crews at the end of this, but we can do a good, a better, and a best. What would you prefer? Let me explain the differences between them. I can even go back here and I can say, well, hey, we're going to be using a destination motivation voucher for this. I want to make sure that I account for that cost, especially when I factor in what's my floor, giving my salesperson the tools to negotiate. I can say, well, hey, that's a $20,000 cost. Again, knowing that that destination motivation voucher for me as a business owner, it's not free. It's not. Brittany can talk to you guys one-off on what those vouchers cost to you guys as a business owner. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Brittany, they start right around $199, and depending on volume, they go down. Is that correct?
Yeah, you are correct. Yep. So the most they will cost is $199 each, and depending on volume, they can bottom out in the mid 150s.
Perfect. So the other thing to note too is like when I go in and sell other things like windows, we have a lot of different views within Leap that make it super easy for me to add a window. So again, this can be used for multiple products, but I can say, hey, there's 2 of these. We're going to be doing this in the dining room. Here's the size, any additional details that I want. Plus, I can even go back in and I can even add photos of these to make my install team's lives that much easier. Done. If I want, I can also control my upcharges. When I hit that, it's also easy for me to go back through and say, hey, here's again my good, my better, and my best. So there's a lot of really amazing things you can do with this. I can take it to proposals. These are all custom. So whatever you do to lay off your price, whether you give a pie chart to break down where the dollars are being spent, if you want to display a bunch of different financing options, you can do that as well. The beauty of this is these are all bespoke and custom built to you. I can also go to my contracts, and in this case, I can say, well, hey, we're selling roofing, and you know what? I'll also throw in some windows. We'll even put the Eagle View report at the end of this. When I hit next, I can enter in all my info, say, hey, there's 25 windows in this house, but we're only selling 2 of them. The other nice thing is when you talk about roofing, we protect your customers from making really costly errors, or excuse me, your employees from making really costly errors. If I select a certain shingle type, it's only going to give me the colors relative to that. If I change it to a 3-tab, guess what? It changes the color. So all of these things are massive safeguards. Plus you have the tools like your roof sketch to go back in and say, hey, I want to make it easy for my install teams to be putting this stuff in on the home. So when I hit next, Leap does a really amazing thing with contracts in that I can now flip through this and start reviewing my contracts with that homeowner. It pulls over all the details of what I did on my estimates. I can go ahead and put in all my financing and my cost of job. I can even go back in and I can enter in all the details for what I'm doing here. At the end of it, the most important thing is these 2 tools, both Destination Motivation and Leap, are designed to get you to sell jobs. So when you're in the home, more importantly, you want the ability to just go in and close that deal and get some signatures directly on site. So like I said, there's a lot of really amazing things that this tool can do. We barely went into any of them right now. I'm actually going to jump out of this. We talked a little bit about financing. We also fully integrate with different financing so you can get actual credit decisions on site. So I'm going to switch back over the deck. Again, this was not designed to be the let's go into a really deep dive on the actual what Leap can do at a very granular level. It was really designed to give you a very high level overview of when you pair these 2 tools together, you're getting your sales tools all the necessary function and features that they need to close this job on site. We mentioned too that you got to account for those fees, because if you're not, guess what? Even if it's $199, if that rep negotiates that down below your floor and you're not factoring that in, you add that up times 1,000 jobs throughout a year, that's a pretty substantial number. But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, why did we partner? And more important than anything, both Destination Motivation, we're like-minded. We focus on our customers. So you guys are the ones who are going to dictate success for both of our companies. You say something needs to change, we're flexible and agile, and we make it so that it works for you guys. The other thing too is these guys are really, really innovative. They know the industry, they know what works, they know who our customers are, and they've really worked out ways in which their programs can best appeal to them. So what I want to do now, again, I want to keep this open. This webinar, like I mentioned early on, was intended as an announcement. So it was intended as a way for you to either dive in more to Leap or dive in more to Destination Motivation, or figure out a way, if you already currently use one or the other, how to plug the 2 in to show our best practices. So I want to take a little bit of time now. Brittany and I are going to go through some of the questions that were dropped in. We're going to give a lot of these questions some attention, etc. So one of the questions that we got is, are we recording this? And the answer is absolutely yes. We're going to be reaching out to each and every one of you after this call. What we'll do is we'll follow up with you based on what you currently use. So if you're currently using Destination Motivation, we'll follow up with you a little bit more about how Leap can plug directly in. Vice versa with Leap, if you're already using our tool, Brittany and her teams are going to reach out to you and see exactly how we can better integrate the 2 products. Next, I'm going to go through some of the others. So Brittany, one of the questions that we got on this was, how are you seeing some of these organizations using this as a tool to close? Like, what's the tactic, or how's this incorporated into a pitch?
Sure. So there's 2 different ways. So one would be if it's used to drive the lead. So if it's used to drive a lead at a home show or in your printed marketing or on your social media, the homeowner already is aware of it, and that should be a pretty easy lay down lead for your for your sales rep to be able to close that deal. We provide training to your sales rep as to like how to put this into the pitch. This is not for your salesman to learn to be a vacation salesman or anything. It's dropping hints throughout the presentation, and they should only spend about 2 minutes on what Destination Motivation can provide for them. It's really turnkey training that we provide, and everything gets turned over to us. So we will reach out to your homeowner. Congratulations on your next project with New South Windows. My name is so-and-so, and I'm your vacation specialist. We walk them through that entire process. So one way, again, would be if it was created from a lead for someone like, replace your windows today, vacation tomorrow. So they're aware of it up front. The second way clients are using it is it's a back pocket technique. So the salesman might, in their warm-up questions ask, where was your next, or where was your last vacation, to get them, talking about a vacation. Or the sales rep might see a carnival shot glass in the kitchen or a family vacation photo on the wall. And it's just really easy to get people to, because again, everyone likes to talk about vacation. So when it comes time to do the pricing at the table, they're able to give that instead of a first, second, or third drop, depending on the profit margins that are there. So each company uses it a little bit different. If you were to become a client of ours, we actually do at the very beginning a marketing analysis as to like how you would use this in your marketing. We set you up with one of our sales trainers, and they train your entire team, so everyone is using it the exact same way inside of your organization.
Awesome. One of the next questions we got too was giving a 10% off or giving 10% off of a project is very different than giving away a $200 voucher. How do you account for that voucher in the actual sales process itself? And one of the things that we can do is when you set up Leap, there's a number of different ways we've seen customers use this. Some of them use it to provide a visual when going through the contract. So it's easy for me to layer in, hey, we're going to include this vacation voucher. It's, the face value of this, if you were to go out and buy this cruise yourself, is $1,000, but we're just going to throw it in, etc. The beauty of that is you can actually plug that in with a visual to your account in Leap, so that when you're going through, you can simply check a box, or it's actually a toggle the feature on, and then at that point, not only is it accounting for it in the actual floor of your job, but it's also taking into consideration that it needs to add that or remove that MSRP of that $1,000, so that you can say, hey, look, I'm giving you a $1,000 voucher off of this. It's amazing. Oh my God, you absolutely want to buy today. It's just having those visuals just re-emphasizes the fact that people are getting a tremendous amount of value because they're getting one of these at that point of sale. So again, what we can do is there's a number of different ways that you can plug that in. The best part about it is that Leap will do the math for you so that you don't have to worry about whether or not your reps are accounting for that in your margin.
Sure, and I'm going to piggyback off that a little bit. So that's a big piece of the discovery that we do with the marketing phone call before we do the sales training with your team. And generally that's done with myself or one of our marketing consultants. So we understand what your pricing structure is, so we can suggest what would be the best way for your current model, so we're not suggesting something that would confuse anyone inside of your team. So again, that can be done a multitude of different ways. We have clients that do it all type of different ways, but that is definitely something that we touch on one of our very first phone calls, is how to set that up to where it makes sense and you're still profitable internally for you.
Awesome. And Brittany, one of the other questions we got, this one's actually directly related to you guys, is what kind of feedback have you gotten or have you gotten from customers that have purchased jobs and received these vouchers? Like, what kind of feedback are you getting for those who attend them? Is it, positive? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's positive, but what are people saying?
I can definitely send out to everyone, or they can go to our website. It's destinationmotivation.com. Click on testimonials, and you will see from, I don't know, maybe 300 of our clients. They're, homeowners that have been on vacations with their pictures. You'll read stories from, this was a once in a lifetime. We've never been able to afford a vacation of this stature at this price. To this was gifted to me from my pastor. To we went and used segways around an island, or we went to Alaska. I encourage people to go to our website and read our clients' testimonials, and also go to increaseoursales.com and watch the videos from CEOs that are leaders of the industry talk about how we have changed their sales model, by using this, and how much more money their salesmen are making.
Yeah, and you guys, when you start researching this stuff, when you start looking into who's using this, there's a reason why the biggest and the best in the industry are employing this technique. It works. So here's what I'll do. We've gone pretty long. We're right at that hour mark, so I want to be cognizant of time and respectful for everyone that's attended. Thank you so much. Do me a favor. If you're absolutely interested whatsoever in learning about either LEAP, or you're learning more about destination motivation, take a screenshot of this or go ahead and copy. Feel free to reach out directly to Brittany. I mean, she's a wealth of knowledge, you guys. I can't harp on that enough. She's run a lot of major marketing organizations within our space. She's got a great mind when it comes to how she can help shift around some of the operations and make this thing seamlessly plug in. But she'll also be able to go into all the details on what it takes to be a dealer of these, or what it takes to purchase these vouchers. And more importantly, how it's going to integrate with your organization. Same thing on our end. What we'd love to do too is run you through a much deeper dive. If you're interested in learning more about LEAP, let us run through a very deep dive with you on all the different nuances of the program itself. What I showed you is not even a sliver of what it can do. Brittany can attest to this too, because a lot of the organizations that she works with day in and day out actively use LEAP. So again, shameless plug, Brittany, let us know, or let the audience know real quick, what kind of success have you seen with folks that use both?
So I would say one of the biggest things that I have seen is some of our underdogs stepping up, because it has made the selling process easy for them, because you can't move on to another step unless a certain step is completed. I definitely know that my admin teams fully appreciate being able to have all of their documents in one space, not shoved underneath a seat or coffee spilt on it. Eliminating the job jackets inside of the office is another huge thing. But also the sheet that comes, and I just went blank for some reason, the production sheet for ordering.
Yeah, it's the summary sheets at the end of it.
Is a huge thing that my clients like. I mean, using it in the house is, kind of like a no-brainer. But on the operation side, once we put it into some of our consulting clients, of course the sales guys love it. You give them a tool and they're going to be like, oh man, this is sweet. Our job's easier. But when you have people on the back end going, oh my God, where has this been for the last 15 years of my life? This is just, giving me more time in my day, is when you've kind of struck gold.
Yeah, and one of the last things I'll say about the value of LEAP, especially the way it was designed, the gentleman who originally designed it, it's actually his birthday today. The gentleman who designed LEAP came from in-home sales, so he was selling exterior remodeling for one of our attendees today on this company out of the Baltimore area called New Look Home Design, and sold for them for about 7 years as one of their top sales reps in the office. So he created this from the kitchen table, and then slowly learned the other parts of the business to understand how it should be interacting and incorporating to eliminate any of those errors, make your life easier, and ultimately not only sell more jobs, but get more jobs pushed through production faster. So when you look at it, there's a lot of amazing things that it brings to the table. I really implore you guys to go onto the website, leaptodigital.com/destination motivation. If you've never seen it, you owe it to yourself to go through the demo. It's 45 minutes out of your day that's ultimately going to change your business. So would love to have you guys join for that. Feel free also to reach out to Brittany at brittany@increaseursales.com. Thank you guys so much. Brittany, were there any parting thoughts on your end that you wanted to share with the audience today?
Oh, just thank you guys for sticking through all the way through our long webinar and hanging out with us. And I hope to talk to any of you that I don't know yet.
Yep, exactly. And then what you guys can expect in the future with Destination Motivation is we're going to be working with a lot of best practices. So we're already in the process of speaking with a couple massive players that currently use this tool in the field. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back probably in about a month, 2 months, something like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to put together a case study, bring on one of those power users, and we're going to go through how this thing is integrated, how they're using it in, really as an educational tool. We're going to build that into the Leap Academy series. And at that point, we'll be able to show you guys what the biggest and the best organizations are doing to bring both tools together and sell more deals down the line. So again, thank you guys so much for joining today. We're so grateful for every one of you. This is going to be recorded and shared out. We'll also be reaching out to each and every one of you individually. Brittany, you're awesome. High five. I owe you dinner one of these nights. Thank you always for being such a huge fan of what we do. We're really grateful to be partnered up with you guys.
It's going to be fun. We're going to make some money for some people.
High five. Love it. That's the name of the game, folks. Again, thank you for joining. Brittany, you're the coolest. We'll call it right now. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day and have a wonderful Memorial Day.